Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman are set to face off at UFC 294 in what could be one of the most explosive matchups of the year. A battle that could reshape the landscape of the middleweight division and beyond. But who has the upper hand? Can the rising star Chimaev take on the former welterweight champion Usman, and what's at stake for these two warriors in the octagon? That's the question we're going to dive into today. But before we break down their incredible clash, let's take a step back and look at the paths that have brought these two warriors to this moment. We've got a former welterweight champ trying to reclaim his throne, and a rising star ready to make his mark in a new weight class. It's a matchup that promises everything you'd want in a fight: skills, power, and plenty of surprises. So stick around, because in this video, we'll break down the ins and outs of this epic clash and give you the lowdown on the stakes involved. Let's dive straight into it. Man oh man, we were gutted when Charles Oliveira had to withdraw from his lightweight title fight against Islam Makhachev. That eyebrow cut is a real shame. And now with Paulo Costa also out from arm surgery. What a blow for this card. But let's focus on the new co-main event, Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. This has classic written all over it. Usman is as legend as they come. Welterweight king for years until Leon Edwards finally dethroned him last year. Then came up short again in the rematch at UFC 286. But still, 20-3 is mighty impressive. Very few can claim to be more dominant than Usman in his prime. Chimaev, on the other hand, is this young wrecking ball tearing through the division. A perfect 12-0 already and finished 6 of his last 7. You've got to think he deserves those favorable odds over Usman's. Now these two welterweight studs are colliding at middleweight on October 21st. The winner probably punches their ticket to a title shot against Sean Strickland. And we cannot wait to see this go down at UFC 294. Losing Oliveira Makhachev is a heartbreaker, but Chimaev Usman has all the makings of an instant classic. Two killer wrestlers, heavy hands, limitless gas tanks. What more could we ask for? Chimaev has looked unstoppable since entering the UFC, racking up 12 straight wins with his last 7 finishes. His hype train is in full force. But in Usman, he faces an all-time great, the former long-reigning welterweight king. Usman's world-class wrestling and cardio versus Chimaev's blurring speed and power. Both true specimens pushing each other to the brink. This is as good as it gets. And the winner is right there for a crack at UFC Gold. Usman recently gave his thoughts on the Chimaev matchup in an interview with TMZ Sports. He's definitely talented. That's why there's a lot of excitement about it, because you know we see these guys come in, a lot of different guys, and you just see something special about them. We all know it, I know it, he knows, everyone knows it. He's very skilled, he's strong, he's big, he's fast, he can wrestle, he can grapple, he can strike. He is everything, but so do I. Facing Chimaev represents a huge chance for Usman to reassert himself after consecutive losses in welterweight title fights. But Chimaev has looked unstoppable. This is an incredible stylistic matchup between a battle-tested veteran and a young phenom, both with the skills to finish this fight. The stakes don't get much higher. A win means a title shot awaits. The hype for Kamaru Usman vs Khamzat Chimaev has been simmering for years. With Usman dominating welterweight and Chimaev looking like a future star, fans have been dreaming about this matchup for a while now. Back in November 2021, Usman was asked about fighting Chimaev at a UFC 268 media day. He said, "As far as me fighting him, you know I'm in a point in life to where I understand how much this takes from you. I've been 9 weeks now away from my daughter, and FaceTime does help, but it doesn't do it justice, as far as being there each and every day. So obviously I don't know how much longer I'm willing to do this. They have to make sense for me now. If he's able to get there, then we'll talk about it at that point." Not exactly chomping at the bit to fight a rising prospect. Understandable for the long-reigning champ. But the trash talk started heating up this summer. At a UFC 290 interview, Usman was asked about facing Chimaev at 185 pounds. He fired back, "Why would they approach me for 185? He's ranked. What? No. 3, right, isn't he? In what division? Welterweight. If you want to fight, let's fight. Chimaev clapped back on social media. Kamaru Usman, why are you talking about me? You said you want to fight 84x, middleweight. The weight no problem for you. You are the bougie man, but I'm the wolf. Come up. Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev are on a collision course at UFC 294, but they've taken very different paths to get here. With big wins over Colby Covington, George Masvidal, and Gilbert Burns, Usman cemented himself as one of the greatest 170-pound fighters ever. But his dominance ended when Edwards finished him with a nasty head kick at UFC 278, then won the rematch at UFC 286 too. Meanwhile, 29-year-old Chimaev hasn't fought yet in 2023, but his UFC run so far has been wildly impressive. He steamrolled guys like Rhys McKee, Gerald Meerschaert, and Li Jingliang before out-battling title challenger Gilbert Burns last year. Most recently, Chimaev missed weight for a fight with Nate Diaz at UFC 279, so ended up facing Kevin Holland instead. After that catchweight scrap, he announced a move up to middleweight. So while Usman is desperate to reclaim glory after losing his throne, Chimaev is still undefeated and hungry to rule a new division. Even with different trajectories, one thing's certain. Both men have the skills to finish this fight. A former UFC star isn't giving Kamaru Usman much of a chance against Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 294. Chimaev's buddy Darren Till predicted Boers will ragdoll the former champ. In an interview, Till said, "I'm trying to get there. I love Khamzat, God bless him. Usman's got balls, but I think Khamzat is going to run over him, I do. I mean, as much as I'm his friend, I'm his biggest fan. Khamzat is, I think he's going to run over Usman. All respect to him. He is a Geo-8, but yeah, I think Khamzat is going to ragdoll him, I do, sorry to say." Most odds makers agree too, with Chimaev a heavy -360 favorite over +285 underdog Usman. Can't blame them looking at their records. Chimaev is a perfect 12-0 with 11 finishes, while Usman is 20-3 and coming off back-to-back losses. But this matchup just feels too good to confidently predict. One thing's certain though, the winner is getting a middleweight title shot per Dana White. He said, "That is an absolute fact. The fact that these guys are taking this fight on short notice, the winner will get the next shot at the title, bearing injuries and other things that can possibly happen. With stakes that high, you know these warriors will leave it all in the cage." What do you make of Till's bold prediction, though? Does Chimaev ragdoll Usman, as he claims, or does the former champ have enough left in the tank to derail the hype train? Let us know in the comments below. You got any early predictions on how Usman vs Chimaev goes down? Something tells us this might not be as one-sided as Till thinks. This short notice booking between Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev might not be ideal for their middleweight debuts, but the stakes massive. Fans have clamored for Usman vs Chimaev for years, but the circumstances are far different than if this happened during Usman's welterweight reign. This is such a compelling stylistic matchup between an all-time great and a hyped prospect. Chimaev is enormous for a middleweight at 6'2". He's a hulking wrestler who can bully opponents. Usman has competed at welterweight his entire career and is giving up size in this bout. Chimaev should have a strength advantage that will aid his wrestling. He can potentially muscle and ragdoll Usman once they start grappling. Usman has never faced someone as big and strong as Chimaev at 185 pounds. As talented as Usman is, he's facing a relative unknown in Chimaev. There are still aspects of Chimaev's game that are unproven against top-tier competition. Usman won't know exactly what to expect and how to prepare. Chimaev is still developing rapidly and has many untapped skills he can unveil. The unknown variables make Chimaev even more dangerous in this matchup. One of Chimaev's biggest assets is his unmatched cardio. He has an endless gas tank and applies relentless pressure from start to finish. Chimaev pushes a frenetic pace that rarely slows. He overwhelmed skilled veterans like Gilbert Burns with constant forward pressure. Usman is very durable, but Chimaev's non-stop cardio could drown even him in deep waters. The later rounds strongly favor Chimaev if he maintains his usual conditioning. Now let's examine the wrestling. Chimaev averages nearly 4 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 57% accuracy clip. That's higher than Usman's 3 takedowns per 15 minutes at 45% accuracy. Once on the mat, Chimaev is a submission threat, averaging 3.5 subs per 15 minutes. He's earned quick submission wins in the octagon already. Usman rarely finishes fights by submission. Chimaev's offensive wrestling and lethal submission game pose a major threat. He could take Usman down and finish him on the mat. Let's also look at the striking numbers for both fighters. Chimaev lands a whopping 7.3 significant strikes per minute at a 69% accuracy rate. That output is higher than Usman's 4.5 per minute at 64% accuracy. Simply put, Chimaev is more active and accurate on the feet while being harder to hit. His knockout power is also phenomenal, with 5 KO finishes already. Usman has been wobbled on the feet before, so Chimaev's dangerous striking could spell trouble for him. Now, considering all those advantages, the odds are out for Khamzat Chimaev vs Kamaru Usman at UFC 294, and Chimaev is a solid favorite. Boers is minus 310, meaning you'd need to bet $310 to profit $100. Meanwhile, Usman is a plus 260 underdog. A $100 bet would return $260. This is likely a low-risk, high-reward fight for the Nigerian Nightmare. Moving up in weight on short notice against a killer like Chimaev, not much is expected. But Usman has the skills to win if he can shut down the takedowns and force a striking battle. That could spell trouble for Chimaev. Still, oddsmakers see Boers as the rightful favorite. His size, strength, and speed should be a lot for Usman to handle. BetMGM agrees, listing Chimaev as a minus 300 favorite. No doubt he's the rightful frontrunner. How do you see this going down? Can Usman shock the world again, or will Chimaev roll to the biggest win of his career? Regardless, this matchup is must-see TV for any MMA fan. Chimaev likely has the grappling advantage, but Usman's defense and scrambling could neutralize the takedown offense. For Chimaev, the path seems clear. Use his striking to win exchanges early, while mixing in his explosive wrestling. He can't get reckless though, as Usman's experience and grit means he's always dangerous. Usman must weather the early storm and drag Chimaev deep. His gas tank and veteran savvy give him a chance if it goes late. We see Chimaev overwhelming Usman early, trying desperately for the finish inside 2 rounds. But the Nigerian Nightmare survives and starts turning the tide down the stretch. Still, too little too late as Boers takes the decision. While Usman should never be counted out, Chimaev appears to have several clear advantages that make him the favorite leading up to UFC 294. His striking, grappling, cardio, size, strength, and momentum give him multiple paths to victory. Usman will need to summon every ounce of his skill and toughness to survive Chimaev's onslaught. Don't be surprised if we see Boers emerge victorious and cement himself as the next UFC superstar. This is surely one of the most anticipated UFC matchups in years, and we predict Khamzat Chimaev will get his hand raised in the end. As we wrap up this video, we want to hear from you. Do you think Chimaev will ragdoll Usman, as some have predicted, or does the former champ have what it takes to derail the hype train? Share your early predictions and thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you don't miss out on any of our future content by hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you in the next video as we continue to bring you the latest and greatest in the world of mixed martial arts. Until then, keep those fists up and let the debates begin.